Hi, everyone. I'm Daniela Fair, publisher at Defense One. And today I have the pleasure of moderating today's conversation, Knowledge Hubs, the missing ingredient in digital transformation of citizen service. Based on a Gartner report, poor customer experience has been the biggest barrier to digital transformation success. In turn, one of the biggest deterrents to good customer experience and the big reason digitization in government organizations has plateaued is knowledge chaos. In fact, 57% of consumers report getting different answers for the same question when they contacted a government agency via different touch points, according to a consumer survey, resulting in repeat contacts and constituent frustration. During today's conversation, we're going to explore the state of digital customer service and knowledge management in the public sector. And we have a lot of information to cover. So we ask that you please chat any questions that you have from the audience in our chat box during the presentation. A representative from eGain's team will get back to you with answers following today's event. I'm really excited to be joined today by Sam Hahn, technology evangelist from eGain, to talk about Knowledge Hubs, the missing ingredient in the transformation of citizen services. Welcome, Sam.
Daniela, it's great to be here with you.
Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me about this. I'm very curious about this topic, and I know our audience is as well. In order to get a little context before we dive in, would you mind giving me and them a little background about yourself, your journey, and what inspires you in this environment?
Sure. Let's see. Going a little bit back, I got a degree in mathematics at Stanford, and then did a little bit of graduate work in AI and what's typically known now as machine learning. It used to be called the Heuristic Programming Project. And then I joined a company that is no longer in existence. It's called TRW, which is now part of Northrop Grumman. But as part of that company, I did a number of projects for national agencies. And in fact, for over a decade, probably a decade and a half, had extended background investigations, EBI level clearances, compartmental doubles as well. So I'm familiar with the way technology transitions into government, the way it's acquired. I'm familiar with writing FAR compliant proposals as well. So I've been around that space in a prior life. And then since then, I've joined a number of commercial companies and recently have been VP of Engineering at eGain as well as VP of Technology. And now I get to be technology evangelist and communicate what the company's doing and how we're addressing this particular opportunity.
Great, great. Well, I know you're going to share some visuals with us while you're popping those up. I just wanted to comment on what a hot topic this is right now with government agencies, particularly those looking to improve trust in government and to deliver the level of service that the public expects and deserves. So before you dig into it, tell us a little bit about eGain and what the organization does.
Cool. All right. So eGain is a company that was founded probably around 1997 or so, okay? And those of you who've been around in this time period recognize that that was only about 5-6 years after most people heard of this thing called the web. Well, our founders really were betting that with the advent of this digital technology that connected everybody instantaneously, that they thought, hey, customers are going to naturally interact with companies this way. And in fact, extended notion is citizens will engage with their governments and local representatives this way as well. So it's very early on. You could say that we were kind of waiting for the time to ripen. And indeed, with the events of the last couple of years, we can see that COVID definitely made it necessary for everybody to engage in a digital fashion. Okay, so I'll say more about that. But the company got its start with email, which was the state-of-the-art interaction technology at the time, and quickly moved into chat. And we quickly also realized that, hey, you can connect people, but that just means that the agent and the customers are interacting on a different channel. We quickly realized that you need to have a way to make these agents more effective. You need to put the knowledge at the agent's fingertips, and that's why a key component of our platform is this knowledge management, which we're about to talk about today. And so that's a little bit about the company. We've been around over 2 decades doing this, and we've seen millions of sessions, billions of interactions, and that's hopefully the experience that I'd like to share with you in this topic we're talking about, which is knowledge management and knowledge hubs.
Well, it sounds like we're speaking to the right person for sure, and the right organization. So we hear a lot about the importance of digital customer experience and especially the need to improve it to meet the objectives of the Biden administration. So I wanted to ask you, what issues are you seeing, coming out of the new administration's, imperative here?
Well, it's not surprising that, as I mentioned slightly ago, just not very long ago, that the urgency to go digital has been very, very strong. And so there's been a large investment, right? So people have said, we've got to get digital. We've got to connect people on a digital platform. That's obviously the internet, okay? We've got to take away the reliance on points of presence like physical points of presence. And so now we did it, we invested, we took a look at all the journey, we took a look at all the interaction styles. We basically did transform the engagement with all of this new technology. And as a result, we did see a lot of engagement, right? Obviously, these channels are a way for people to get quicker service, quicker interaction, quicker knowledge, and they're asking way more questions than they ever did before, right? But why is it, and you're just posing the question again, why is it that we're still not seeing the ROI that we really made those commitments in order to see, okay? And we looked at this question, not only we, but we also surveyed a number of very smart people out there, and we actually then found a number of others who were seeing the same phenomenon, okay? Pew Research Center is saying, hey, trust in government, it's been eroding for decades, okay? That is the general trend. But if you now look at the more immediate, let's say the last few years, if you take a look at 2019, 2020, 2021, Forrester, okay, the government sector is scoring the lowest in citizen experience. In the business sector, it's customer experience. Here, it's citizen experience, okay? Now, if you look at Gartner, they're saying if you actually put the ability for citizens to interact on a website to find their own answers, that self-service technology fails to deliver about 90% of the time. Customers are abandoning their journeys. This is not us saying this. This is Gartner saying this. Now, when we do our own surveys, we also see that 52% of the people out there are feeling that, customer service has gotten worse in the government sector, okay? It was ranked last for digital customer service, okay? It's clearly not a great situation. Now, if you look at the agents and what they're experiencing, 65% of the agents that we talk to are saying, hey, they're not getting the right knowledge. They're not able to respond to the customers with the right, correct, consistent knowledge quickly, okay? And now you take a look at what Gartner is saying about contact center agents. 84% of them are using this. I mean, it's a very loaded term. They hate their tools, okay? So we're finding that, if the citizen experience is not good and the agent experience is not good, that's a deadly combination, okay? Now, let's take a look at what the organization's experience is, okay? If you're experiencing over the last couple of years, the transition of a lot of people from a direct face-to-face medium to now working remote and utilizing technologies such as chat and email and others, they want to maintain that remote work habit, okay? There's a lot of people who are not coming back to the workplace. Now, you couple that with the fact that if you take a look at federal employees, 94% of them are over the age of 30, okay? It's an aging working population, and 1/3 of them, they're able to retire in the next 5 years. So there's a lot of knowledge that's kind of walking out the door. It's really, very valuable knowledge, having been developed through lots of experience. And what are you going to do with that? Got to be able to retain that in some way. Even the people who are working remotely are saying that they're going to reduce the number of in-person days in the office. And if you take a look at training programs, clearly 90% of them have been disrupted due to what's happened in the last couple of years. So what's the common element here? Okay, the common element is, where are you going to get the right knowledge to the right agents, to the right citizens, to the right self-service portal at the right time? Okay, there's the challenge. Okay, so, it's clearly the case that if you can put together some content, and hundreds of companies do this, okay? If you put together some content and you go after a quick solution, you put together the first 6 use cases, yeah, almost anybody can do that. The reason we'd like to distinguish, what we call knowledge hubs and a true knowledge management system is, you want to look at how it's behaved after 20 plus years of deployment and having learned through hundreds and thousands of deployments. What do users care about? What do knowledge authors care about? What do the contact center agents care about? What do the agents serving citizens care about? Okay, that maturity, in addition to the raw knowledge, and how you make that knowledge usable and good and effective and current, that's what a knowledge hub is going to do. Gartner says that proper knowledge management is the #1 technology that can simultaneously, across the citizen, the agent, and the agency, okay, really make that experience a whole lot better and just get out of all those bad metrics that we just talked about. Those experiences are going to improve if you now focus on knowledge management. Okay? It's not just about content, it's really knowledge. And one of the things I like to focus on is, content should be useful whenever you actually ask for it, but a properly developed and deployed knowledge management system has got to be, it must be useful, and it must be correct, and it must be there at the right time. There's the true difference, okay?
So that's some really interesting data on the performance of the government sector. It sounds like they're really having some challenges here, and it's a little concerning. What's missing? I mean, you're starting to talk about, can you elaborate on why digital transformations are not serving citizens or agencies, and a little more about that slide you have up right now referencing the missing ingredient? Let me dig into that a little bit more so our audience understands.
Yeah, if you want to use a metaphor, I think you probably touched on it just now, is that once you've made those connections, once you've built those pipes, you want to make sure that the proper material, the proper flow is taking place within those pipes, okay? You want it not to be sludge. You want it to be crystal clear. You want it to be pristine. You want it to be, very, very nutritious, okay? That's the knowledge. You can actually have random content, which looks like sludge. It's not curated. It's not current. It's not personalized. Or you can actually have very current, very well curated, very well authored, very personalized pieces of knowledge that are pertinent to exactly what that conversation is that's taking place in real time, okay? So I just wanted to make sure that you saw that the difference is, once you've got the basic infrastructure and that investment completed, now you want to look at what actually flows through that infrastructure. And that infrastructure makes those connections. What flows is the high quality knowledge that we're about to address today.
Great. I think I get that. So we've been creating all these pipes, and now we need to look at what we're putting into them. And so I think if you're saying if knowledge is the missing ingredient, then how should we include it? And do you have some best practices that you could share with our audience?
Would love to. This is the opportunity we have today here, okay? And that is, we have clearly gotten about 24, 25 years worth of experience doing this. Not only we though, but Gartner, as we mentioned before, has done this study. And they're saying, if they want to look at the way the problem is structured out there in business and in government, these are the 7 crucial focus areas that they feel that every one of these needs to be taken very seriously, or every one of them has the potential to derail your investment, okay? And so they've talked about these, and I'll go into these in detail. But just very, very quickly, it's start from what it looks like in the concept of all the stakeholders. That's the outside in thinking that we really want to establish first, okay? Then you want to look at all the resources within the company. This is the knowledge-based consolidation piece. What can you get rid of? What do you need to keep? Where do you need to move knowledge from? Maybe it's sitting over there in the network drive. Where do you need to make certain changes about where it's going to sit and how it's going to be searched? Then, of course, you need to have a very effective search engine. And all of us have been around this technology now for quite a while. We'll say a little bit more about that later. Once you've got this content there, what we like to call one of our sweet spots of expertise is something we call guided experience. It's taking static content or static knowledge and making it actually perform, making it execute, making it live, okay? So no longer is it just sitting on a page, it's actually guiding you through do this, do that, say this, say that, look at that, look at this number, okay? That's a guided experience, would actually then encapsulate the best practices of all your best SMEs and then makes it available to every agent and every citizen. That's the guided experience piece. Then, once you've got this, you want to make sure that the entire site and your entire application are well stitched together. They're actually going to flow from any stage of your customer experience to the next stage, okay? Whether or not you're actually looking for a solution or looking for a piece of knowledge or trying to contact an agent or looking for a policy, all of that needs to flow together. Once all of that is in place, then you can start thinking about really putting together, people used to call these bots, they're virtual assistants. You've seen them on many different websites. They can actually interact with you to answer those simple questions and sort of then allow the live agents to pick up those sessions when a lot of background information has been established and collected. The last piece here is this contextualization piece. I had mentioned this about the personalization, and that is you may need all of this knowledge sliced and diced a number of different ways, okay? You may need them translated. You may need them targeted towards certain product areas or policy areas or certain citizen demographics. All of that contextualization and personalization really filters down and cuts down on the, let's say, the rubbish that an agent has to sift through in order to find the right piece of information for the right interaction session, okay? That's a quick overview of all of these sessions. And any one of them, as I mentioned, Gartner says, any one of them could derail your investment. So a proper balanced look at all of these different areas is one of the most important lessons I would like to impart to all of you today. And that is, think about this outside in, engage with partners who've actually got experience doing this, and look at how you actually have the entire experience from your citizens to your agents to the agency itself, and have that be on a platform that is quite mature, that has already been proven for a couple of decades, okay? Gartner is saying that challenge that the organizations face is a combination of all the tools and the best practices, okay? Don't just go after one or two. I mean, you can't do this in a siloed fashion. That's basically the message, okay?
So a knowledge hub would enable all of these 7 best practices. So that's what you're looking for foundationally. And it sounds like something we need to know more about. I'm wondering if you can, talk about those 7 best practices in a hub and what that hub actually is.
Okay. So as I mentioned, the way we think about hubs is that they're more than just the knowledge itself, right? It's the way the knowledge can be presented at the right time, at the right place. And so let's talk about that, okay? When you've got a hub that has got not just the knowledge use cases, but it's got the integration use cases, it's got the curation use cases, it's got the personalization use cases, okay? Then you make it not so much a chore, but you actually make it flow, okay? It can actually be quite an enjoyable, quite a highly efficient process. So let me get into exactly what that hub is and why we like calling it a knowledge hub. So it's that platform which not only contains the knowledge, but you actually allow the authoring once and then let it be personalized, let it be specialized, let it be translated, let it be presented in a number of different portals, languages, product context, policy context, etc. Okay? Then we can actually give you an ability to automate and add intelligence to that content as a make it perform, make it execute, make it actually act like a wizard, guide you through some certain processes. When done well, and especially when it's authored and curated well, now you don't have a problem with compliance anymore. Because when a session is executing, the system is looking at, have you made this particular disclosure? Have you cited this particular regulation? Have you advised the citizen of their rights or options? All of that set of compliance regulations is automatically taken care of if the knowledge management system is guiding the agent, and the agent is then saying, okay, I've done this part, I've done that part. Now you've got no concerns about whether or not your session is going to pass audit, okay? Also, if you've got personalization and profiling, then you can actually take the same set of knowledge and put it into a widget, put it into a mobile device, put it into a self-service portal, and make it available in whatever form a citizen wants to interact with it, okay? Then, if you put in all the right reporting and tracking and counting and the journey analysis, then you understand what's really being used effectively. Or you can also say, okay, what knowledge seems to have been giving people pause? Maybe they're here for 20 seconds longer than they ought to. That's a clue for you to say, let me go back and take a look at that piece of expertise or knowledge or content or whatever, and let's see if we can improve it so that the dwell time can be decreased, or the success moving on to the next stage of the process is actually much, much higher, okay? And here's another thing. When you actually are investing in a knowledge-based product or platform, it's not like typical software where you do a bunch of checkbox, and you do a sort of quick ROI and say, okay, I'm going to buy that one. When you're buying a knowledge solution, part of what you're committing to is that knowledge base needs to be grown. It needs to be nurtured. It needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be kind of treated as a growing entity, okay? So the degree to which you have a commitment towards refining the knowledge, improving it, filling in the white space, look at search terms that don't get a lot of good hits, write some knowledge, write some content there, automate it, over time. And then we've got some very successful knowledge of content. Then think about automating it. Put it into a wizard, put it into an app, put it into a guided process that the agent can take advantage of. This is what a knowledge hub can do for you. And it's obviously not just about handling content, okay? So it is basically presented in an omni-channel way. What we like to say is it puts you on the highway towards success. This little vortex might even say it puts you into the wormhole that'll really, really put you into just warp speed for success, okay? You got the ability now to deliver the same content curated everywhere, okay? Then over time, you're going to automate it. You're going to, make it available in bots, available in virtual assistants. You're going to now improve it with machine learning, okay? You can then take a customer 360 view and say, okay, how am I going to select which piece of content is most effective for this customer here? That's the best match, okay? So in other words, in whatever situation you're in, we're going to give you the content we think is most relevant to you in your activities at the moment, okay? All of it is profiled. It knows about your history. It knows about your interaction status. It knows about your past service calls. So all of that can be put to bear in the current session that it's supporting you through, okay? So this is a knowledge hub. It's way more than just handling content. It's all the connections. It's all the flows. And it's all the smartness that I've just been talking about, okay? And when you can do that, then you avoid the silos problem, because clearly, as you can see, all of those use cases require these multiple connections, multiple flows, and they must be available end to end as the customer goes from your website to your app to a live agent to a phone call. All of that needs to have the same basis and be knowledgeable of the same customer's needs when they're on all of these different channels, okay? Silos are not going to do that for you, okay? So we're going to describe for you how we've understood this over the last 2.5 decades, how we've built that experience into our platform so that instead of being a pain point for people, it's now something that we see a lot of enthusiasm for because customers can say, I can do this myself. I can grow this knowledge. I can grow this bot. I can apply this technology to a different problem. So many of our customers, a handful of our very thoughtful customers have taken one deployment of a virtual assistant, said, this is so easy, I'm going to do this other one. And they do that completely without us. We don't even get engaged in those. We just find out about them in a very happy circumstance, serendipitously, when it turns out our customers have learned our tools so well that they can just apply it to a brand new problem area. So if you do this, our desire, our goal is to make it easy, make it fun, deliver stunning value, not just the bare minimum that you really need. We really want you to be very, very surprised by what we can do. And I'll give you an offer later on because we know that our platform can do this for you. And it'll change your company. It'll change your agency. It'll change your organization, basically, okay? Because the way everyone interacts with this, with improvements here, improvements there, they multiply, they add up. That's what transforms the business, okay? That's what we want to be able to do for everyone here.
Sam, that sounds very exciting. I know I always benefit, and I think our audience is probably really interested in learning about some specific successes that you and eGains have had with an eGain Knowledge Hub within government agencies. Can you share some examples with us?
Yeah, we have some examples that we are very happy to talk about. There's an organization most of you are familiar with, the IRS. They're actually one of our customers that really is heavily dependent on our knowledge solution. Now, it turns out that with 50 million sessions a year, they really were looking for some assistance, okay? And these are the metrics that they were facing when they came to us and said, we really want to leverage our thousands and thousands of SMEs and really deliver that level of quality to all of our citizens. So we built a solution that allowed incoming calls to immediately service a citizen rather than having them hold on the phone, okay? So if you're able to detect that this citizen is on a smartphone and say, hey, would you like to click on this link and go and see whether this solves your problem? It did so 70% of the time. That was just way more than they expected. And now you've got agent engagement, okay, going up 25%. Now you can, ask what their specific definition of this, and this is in the Federal Employment Viewpoint Survey, but 25% improvement from 67, that's like, relative 33% or more on that. So these are just very high level numbers that are just giving you the broad indication of how much our tools are being able to benefit the IRS. So as a result, they've got 25% reduction in the sessions being handled by their agents, okay? And they've got 5 times as many taxpayer services per hour being handled because of being able to use the knowledge product to deflect these incoming calls. So this is, just a couple of metrics I just wanted to highlight for you. There's another one. This is a healthcare agency that it's very large, okay? 128,000 contact center staff. You might guess who this is, but they serve 25 million users via self-service every year. They have already projected, even after 6 months of deployment, that within 3 more months, their service costs are going to go down by 30%, okay? And their customer experience index, according to Forrester, is going to increase by 33%. Don't we want to see this in all of our government agencies? Okay. The agencies saying they experience phenomenal success with our Knowledge Hub. And they are starting with our knowledge for agents themselves, and then they're exposing this knowledge via portals so that citizens can go and just self-serve via the web. Okay, that's how confident they are in this particular deployment. Payback is within 9 months, and then from then on, it's just going to be all plus from then on out. Okay, so those are the large government-related customers I was prepared to talk about. But here's another example, right? This is one where, I mean, there's another very large organization. This is BT in the UK. We've got 30,000 contact center agents. We've got 5,000 store representatives over, I think, about 600 different retail locations, okay? They were able to experience 35% reduction in FCR, first contact resolution. That means those are not customers who are coming back to bother your contact center. The issue's being resolved right then and there, okay? Now, NPS is the Net Promoter System, sometimes called the Net Promoter Score. But people have been investing in this for quite a while because it really, really measures how well your users, your customers, your citizens are delighting in your service. So on a scale of 1 to 10, you've got to have a 9 or a 10 for them to actually be considered a positive indicator for you. Basically champion level, champion your services, okay? So 25% point increase, this is absolute point increase in NPS. Organizations typically would bet millions in order to achieve those kind of numbers. In fact, they would bet millions to achieve only single-digit improvements in those numbers. Here, we're seeing a 25-point improvement. Couple that with a 50% reduction in time to competence. You know, when you actually have a lot of turnover in your contact center staff, if you can cut by 50% the training time so that they can be as competent as senior staff, you know, obviously your customers are going to be happier, your agents are going to be more productive, the company benefits, okay? This is huge ROI, okay? And then the last one I want to talk about is there's a very large health insurance firm where due to COVID, 2,000 agents, they had to go remote overnight, okay? But utilizing our knowledge management platform, they were able to switch their interaction mode with customers to a remote mode, utilizing our digital technologies without impacting the key metrics that they were really concerned about. All of their metrics continued to be met, including decreased agent handling time, okay? And that ever present, very important metric, first contact resolution, FCR. Here, within weeks, they were able to reduce their training time by 33%, okay? And different businesses will have different characteristics around training. This went, I think, from 12 weeks to about 8 weeks. And so clearly, that was early gains, and I hope that they continue to shave on that, but already it's at 33%. Here's a nice quote. All my agents love eGain's Knowledge 360. It is super efficient and easy to utilize, single source of truth. I use it every day. Okay.
These are very compelling case studies and top line results. And so I want to ask you, Sam, if you can unpack it for us a little bit and get into the detail to share with the audience, you know, how you achieve these type of results.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go back to what Gartner was saying about those 7 key focus areas, right? And we're going to address each one of them. Okay. So when it comes to outside in design thinking, take a look at eGain the same way, okay? If you're now looking outside in at eGain, we're going to say to you, the best way for you to understand what we can do is to see it, okay? We're not just going to give you words. We're going to say, just give it a try, and we'll take all the risk, okay? Because we've done this so often that we see enough success out of these that we'll give you an offer that just have a few conversations with us, and in 1 month, 30 days, we'll show you a pilot. We're going to look at your website. We're going to scrape it a little bit. We're going to look at what customers come to you for. We're going to actually show you what that experience from a citizen or customer standpoint would be with your domain, your problem area, but on our platform. Okay. We'll show you that in 4 weeks. Obviously, then we're not going to do all the back-end integration. We're not going to do all that fancy content migration stuff, but we'll show you what the experience can look like. And all we're asking is just 2 or 3 conversations, tell us about your problem, and really take a serious look at what we can show you. That's all we ask, okay? We're not going to show you just the minimum capability. We're going to show you the experience that will elevate your citizens' experience or customers' experience into a pretty startlingly, surprisingly fabulous one, okay? So typically when people go around saying, I do Agile, they're saying, what is the minimum viable product I'm going to ship? And we're saying, okay, we can do that too, but hundreds of other companies are doing that. We're saying, how can we get the wow out of your customer? How can we get the wow out of your citizen, okay? So that's what we're targeting, okay? So we're going to give you that kind of experience in 4 weeks. Now, the second thing we're going to talk about is this knowledge-based consolidation idea, right? You've got a lot of content, a lot of knowledge all over the agency, all over the enterprise, okay? And not all of it needs to be put in a single place. We have to look very carefully at what needs to stay where it is, what needs to be brought in, what needs to be essentially deprecated. So we have this very simple, but it's actually a very mature model, okay? There's a bunch of stuff that you want to migrate immediately, okay? Really key, really valuable, proven, let's just get it in, okay? And it's not serving citizens where it is. Let's put it into this very powerful knowledge hub. There's a bunch of stuff that is frequently used, but you don't have to do quite so urgently, okay? You can leave it where it is, federate it, and then migrate it over time. There's a bunch of other stuff that doesn't belong in the knowledge hub because the other system is the system of record. It's the authority, okay? So you need to federate that and you need to reach out to it when you need it. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that you're just gonna get rid of over time. It's unused, outdated, irrelevant, not kept up to date, all of that stuff you can get rid of. So our engagement with you will look at what sits in your various different network repositories and apply this thinking with you so that we can actually help you move into proper leverage of a knowledge hub. So the next thing is search. Well, what I'm going to talk about here in search is this is stuff that happens inside the agency. This is stuff that happens inside the enterprise, okay? And I'll contrast that with SEO, which is the search level activities you're going to do that are outside the enterprise, outside the agency. So we leverage, just as a lot of other companies do, but we do it based with all of our knowledge automation on, as I mentioned before, we personalize it. We can actually look now based on all of your interaction history over time and say, what are the common reasons your citizens or customers are interacting with you, okay? If you're the IRS, you probably have 8 to 12 very common reasons why people are contacting the IRS. If you're, a healthcare agency, you probably have 8 to 12 reasons why people are contacting you there, okay? Those are going to constitute the 80% of cases, and then there's all the other 20% that are going to be the dozens or additional other use cases. But take a look at the ones that are going to make transformational difference and try and look at those first. That's what we can do with analyzing the search history and then applying intent inference to all of that corpus of saved searches, as well as what were the successful hits that were returned in response to the search. Then we take a look at how that search is used and the feedback that's given on those responses. And we'll say, did the customer like it? Thumbs up, thumbs down. We incorporate that into our search so the search improves over usage. Then when that content is delivered in a conversation, let's say through a virtual assistant, we have to have a natural language component in here. We have to not only understand natural language, we have to be able to produce natural language, okay? That's dialogue management right there, okay? And all of the metadata that you use on measuring the content or tagging the content, that's all available for improving how search works and how it's responded, how it's returned back to the customer. And indexes, of course, are the very basic component for that. That's all of the components, and that's refined continuously in our search as part of our platform. The next is one that I really did like to talk about. And this is where we can actually make the content, make the knowledge live, execute, active, make it be active. So it's looking at, how can it simplify the agent's interaction with the customer? Agent's not going to read a very long process that may be, many, many pages long. But if we can break that up into a very quick set of prompts, say, ask the customer this, has the customer give you this piece of data, okay? And it's a very free form interaction stuff, because if the customer is offering some information, you don't want to say, wait, I'm going to ask you this first. No, this is not a serialized sequential experience design. This is just, hey, take the free flow of information between the agent and the customer, plug it into the system, and the system's always looking at the best match. This works in diagnostic scenarios. It works in compliance scenarios. It works in just, how to fix it scenarios. It looks across all of these, and you can apply the best of your knowledge and repackage it so that it can actually be this guidance wizard. It can actually be this guidance process that can give things to you in bite-sized pieces, and it's a very simple to follow, okay? It's one of the most mature technologies in our package, and we've been offering it for over 2 decades. The next thing I would like to say is, I alluded to this. Once you've got this proven, you can now take it beyond the stage of it's just a guided process, but actually put it into your website or your mobile app or just a page on your website as a virtual agent. So it can say, okay, here's a spot where I've got 10 or 12 high performing processes. Let me expose that to the citizen or the customer, and now you've got a very high probability of solving that customer's problem, that citizen's problem, okay? So when you actually have content that moves into knowledge, that moves into guided process, that then moves into a virtual assistant, you can see how with each stage, as knowledge gets better, it can get more and more executable, more and more live. And you have to be able to support all of that in order to be reflecting the best practices of a couple of decades. This next piece I like to talk about is the contextualization and personalization piece. This is where agents can now create their own content and specialize it for their own interaction style. They have a style of interacting with customers. It can also be used to specialize what agents are matched with what customers or citizens, okay? So it goes beyond the simple thing of, well, this person is asking about healthcare policy, so let's match it with this agency, or this person's asking about move policy and expense reimbursement, so I know that. It can go much deeper than that. We can provide language matching, we can provide geography matching, we can provide even custom data fields that you want to define for your own agents or for your own customers themselves, okay? So this is highly customizable, but each of that can improve the interaction that a citizen gets from an agent. If they have more in common, if they have a deeper connection, they have, let's say, more common language that they use, all of that's going to improve the citizen experience, okay? So we've been building this for years and years, and it works in not only targeting the right agent for the citizen, but even after the agent's been assigned to the right session, it continues to help because now the agent's got more knowledge about what the citizen's asking for, and they know that, hey, I've got this experience, this is why I was picked for this particular citizen. This is the outward-facing piece of the search phenomenon. This is where, I mean, all of you probably have Google accounts already and Google Analytics accounts. So you know how to buy keywords, you know how to appear in right places, you know how to make short URLs. I don't need to tell you very much that you don't already know here. But again, that needs to be done well so you can actually funnel the searches that people are asking for to the right spot in your set of services that are going to provide a good response, a good answer, a good experience for your citizens. So those are the 7 pieces.
Yeah, I was going to say that's very comprehensive, and I want to thank you for your time. We're getting down to the end of our time together. And I want to ask you, with all of this information that you've unpacked for us in great detail, it really looks like an opportunity for government agencies and their service providers, agents, to start innovating their digital transformation. So how do you go about making it easier for them to contact you and get some support here?
I'm here to invite conversations. Okay, so one thing I alluded to earlier before was that because we've got over 2 decades of experience, we've got a very well-developed model that can take a look at your organization and say, well, this number of customers you serve or citizens, or this number of agents that you want to automate, or this many sessions that you run per year, what would be the implication if you actually decide to give eGain platform a trial? So we take this value model, plug in what we know about your organization and your operations. We can very quickly give you some ideas of the kinds of return, kinds of ROI you would experience. And then the cool thing about that is not that it's right, but it's really useful for a conversation, because then you can then say, well, I want to try and see what happens if this 5 turns into a 3. And then what happens if I have 20 customers instead of 50 on a Sunday? Or what happens if I shrink my agency from 50 agents to 40 agents? We can plug in those numbers and you quickly get a sense of what this platform could do for you. Not only that, once you've had that conversation, we invite you to take advantage of this program we call IITD, Innovation in 30 Days, okay? Again, no cost, except just a few conversations with us. We just ask you to give us a chance, have a few conversations, and at the end of the 4 weeks, sit down with us and really take a look at what we can show you, okay? We'll do all the work. We'll look at your website, we'll look at your customers, we'll look at the reasons people come. I mentioned that before. We'll engage in some discovery, we'll put it into our platform, we'll show you a demo, and then we'll have that conversation again. This is the kind of ROI you could experience with this platform, and see if 1 month is worth investing in just to actually see this play out for your organization. That's the offer we're making, okay? Risk is all on us.
Sam, that's terrific. Thank you so much for your time today. I want to thank our audience for tuning in to this special program, Knowledge Hubs, the missing ingredient in digital transformation of citizen service. If you missed part of the show or you want to share it with your colleagues, the on-demand program will be available shortly and shared via email. For GovExec, I'm Daniela Fayer, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much, Sam.
Thank you.